How many more times are you going to betray yourself? How many more times will you look in the mirror knowing you're running away from the life you could have? You don't need more plans. You don't need more excuses. You need to get up and become someone who takes action, even when they don't feel like it. Because every time you procrastinate, you're burying your potential a little deeper. Wake up. Today, you're going to hack your mind and put an end to that weak version of yourself that's holding you back. This video isn't just a burst of motivation. It's a turning point. Today, you're going to learn the 13 most powerful lessons of Stoicism to force yourself to act, to discipline yourself, even when every part of you wants to give up. These aren't just pretty quotes or empty advice. They're principles you can start applying right now to stop being your own worst enemy and finally become that unstoppable person you know you can be. Today, I'm going to show you how to break through your excuses, how to reprogram your identity, and how to forge discipline like armor. Because yes, discipline is built, it's trained, and today, you're going to start. But before we begin, let me tell you Aina's story. Because sometimes what's holding you back isn't a lack of talent. It's the absence of discipline that you hide behind 1,000 excuses. Aina was once the breakout writer of the year. Her first novel was a total success. Critical acclaim, sales, awards, interviews, everything a writer dreams of. By the time she was 30, she was already living off her art. But that was almost 10 years ago. Since then, she hasn't published a single line. For a while, she justified it. I'm exhausted. I need time for myself. Right now, I want to live experiences so I can write something authentic. It sounded good, but it wasn't real. The truth was that Aina had gotten comfortable. She was living well, still earning royalties, attending a few literary events, and posting quotes on social media like, "Creativity also needs silence." But the truth was that she was betraying herself. Every Sunday night, she'd say the same thing. "Tomorrow I start." And every Monday, she'd find a new excuse. The weather wasn't right. She wasn't feeling inspired. She needed to tidy up her desk, maybe after a coffee. And when she finally sat down at her laptop, she'd think, well, just one episode of a show to relax first. Then she'd blink, and it would be 2 in the morning, and the only thing she'd written was her Netflix password. Her editor, Lucia, tried to help her. She'd say, "You don't need to write a masterpiece, just 1 page." But Aina wouldn't even answer herself anymore. She just left the messages on read, while inside the guilt grew from letting day after day slip by without doing what truly made her feel alive. Until one day, a letter arrived, handwritten, from a 17-year-old reader who had read her novel and said that story had helped her overcome depression. The letter ended with a crushing line, "I'm waiting for your next book, because I feel like you still have something important to say." Aina read the letter. She sat frozen. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't look for an excuse. All the nights she'd put things off came flooding back. All the "I'll start tomorrow" that never happened. All the times she negotiated with her mind to do the easy thing instead of the important thing. She didn't write that night, but she couldn't sleep. Tossing and turning in bed, she grabbed her phone, switched it to airplane mode, and started reading through old highlights in a forgotten book, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. On one highlighted page, she found this. "At dawn, when you have trouble getting up, tell yourself, 'I'm rising to do the work of a human being.'" That line hit like a slap in the face. Because for the first time, it wasn't about inspiration or art or emotion. It was about responsibility, about doing what you're supposed to do, about not negotiating with your duty. The next day, there was no magic. She didn't write a novel, but she did sit down, open her laptop, and write a scene. Just one. And she didn't judge it. Because she understood that her job wasn't to write something brilliant. It was to be brave enough to show up, even if she didn't feel like it. Since that day, Aina started writing again, with fear, with doubts, with clumsy days. But she showed up. Not because inspiration came back, but because she regained respect for herself and the discipline she had buried beneath 1,000 excuses. And you? How many more days are you going to give away to, "I'll start tomorrow"? Maybe what you need isn't more motivation. Maybe all you need is to read aloud what Marcus Aurelius wrote nearly 2,000 years ago. And understand that this isn't about feeling like it. It's about having discipline, about forcing yourself to act, day after day, no matter what. Because if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it for you. Shall we begin? Before we continue, if this content is bringing you value, consider subscribing and becoming an exclusive member to access unique perks. And tell us in the comments, what will be that habit, that decision, or that change you're going to build without excuses, even if no one applauds you for it? Or simply write, "I am a Stoic. From today, I won't wait until I feel ready. I'll act even when I don't feel like it." That will be your commitment to yourself. 1. Discipline is also self-love. Would you hurt someone you love? If your best friend told you they wanted to start taking better care of themselves, would you tell them it's fine to have another burger when they've already had 3? Would you put on that series you know hooks them right when they're about to sit down and work on their project? Would you tell them they should just rest today even though they've been lying on the couch all week? Probably not. You'd tell them to get up, to take care of themselves, to remind them they're worth it. So why do you do the opposite with yourself? Every time you decide to stay in bed when you know you should move, or choose the easy path when what you really want requires effort, you're leaving yourself behind. And the saddest part? Half the time, you don't even realize it. You call it rest. You disguise it as, "I deserve this." But no, my friend, what you're really doing is giving in. And when you give in, you fail yourself. And when you fail yourself, you lose respect for who you are. There's this mistaken idea planted deep in many people's minds that discipline is something rigid, cold, military, like it's a punishment you have to endure to get results, like it's voluntary torture to reach a goal. But what if it's the opposite? What if discipline is actually a mature form of love? Discipline isn't the opposite of freedom. It's the opposite of neglect, the opposite of drifting aimlessly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Love the work that fate has set out for you, and carry it out with honor and good grace." In other words, don't do what you have to do with the look of someone being punished. Do it because it's your path, because you chose it, because every action is a way to honor yourself. And sure, at first it's hard, because your mind craves instant gratification. It wants junk food, it wants the show, it wants the bed. But if you don't train your mind, it becomes your tyrant. Psychologist Raphael Santandreu puts it like this: self-love is the foundation of mental strength. You can't be strong if you don't respect yourself. And you can't respect yourself if you treat yourself like someone who doesn't matter. And that's exactly what you do when you let yourself get carried away by impulses you know are hurting you. Think about this. If today you decide to improve your eating habits, it's not because you hate your body. It's because you finally decided to stop treating it like an emotional dumpster. It's because you're tired of those binges that give you 5 minutes of pleasure and 3 hours of guilt. Because you want to feel more energized, less bloated, with a clearer mind. It's not about counting calories or living off lettuce. It's about stopping the habit of using food as an excuse to cover up what you don't want to face. As Will Smith once said, "I love myself too much to let myself eat something that I know will make me feel bad." And that line, if you really think about it, changes everything. Because you're not cutting out junk food as torture. You're doing it out of respect. Because your body isn't your enemy, it's your home. And it's about time you started treating it like it deserves. And next time you feel the temptation creeping in, try thinking this: what would Marcus Aurelius do in my place? Imagine inviting him to eat some industrial pizza with plastic cheese and sugary drinks. He'd probably look at the plate like, "What the hell is this? This looks like plastic, not food." And yet, without thinking twice, you eat it happily, knowing you'll feel bloated, tired, and guilty afterward. Is that really taking care of yourself? So what can you do to hack your mind and see discipline as an act of self-love? First, Before every uncomfortable decision, ask yourself, does this take care of me or neglect me? It might feel awkward at first, but little by little it becomes natural. Second, change your internal dialogue. Instead of saying, I have to eat well, start saying, I'm going to eat well because I respect myself. It might sound silly, but language shapes identity. And lastly, create your own discipline mantra. Something simple like, I take care of myself because I respect myself. Write it down, say it out loud, repeat it every morning or whenever you feel like breaking your commitment. And if you want, share your phrase in the comments. You never know who you might inspire. My friend, being disciplined isn't putting yourself on a leash. It's giving yourself a compass so you don't lose your way. It's freedom. In the end, hacking your mind and forcing yourself to act isn't about punishing yourself. It's about making self-care your priority. And when you treat yourself like someone who matters, everything else starts to change. 2. You decide your own style of discipline. Are you an all-or-nothing kind of person? One of those who says, just one episode and ends up watching the whole season? One of those who either takes their diet super seriously or gives up on Monday because they already ate one cookie? Then listen closely, because this might be more important for you than you think. Picture this. You're at home, relaxed, and suddenly you notice the kitchen faucet dripping. It's nothing serious, just a few drops. You tighten it a bit, stop the leak, and go on with your day. But sometimes it's not that simple. Sometimes, no matter how much you tighten it, the water keeps coming out, drop by drop, filling the sink, spilling onto the floor, until you've got a puddle. At that point, what do? You don't grab a towel and start wiping while the water keeps flowing. You shut off the main valve. You cut the problem at the source, and that's it. Well, discipline works the same way. Some people can allow themselves a little indulgence, a pause, a slip-up, and then get right back on track without a problem. It's like a faucet they can shut off without losing control. But others, if they open that tap even a little, lose it completely. And for those people, the wisest thing isn't to try and pace themselves like nothing's wrong. It's to close the valve before the water even starts to spill. As Epictetus said, act according to the nature of each thing. And you, even if it's hard to accept, also have a nature that you need to understand if you truly want to hack your mind and get disciplined once and for all. The problem is that many people fail because they're copying someone else's system. They watch that typical day in the life of their favorite influencer, who wakes up at 5, runs 20 kilometers, journals, takes a freezing cold shower, meditates, and eats sugar-free oatmeal with exotic fruits, all before 9 in the morning. And what do? You try it. You last 2 days, and then you're back to chaos. Not because you're weak, but because you're trying to force yourself into a system that doesn't fit you. Discipline isn't a costume you throw on. It's something that has to adapt to you, or it'll break. Let me tell you something so you know you're not alone. A while back, I told myself, I'm just going to scroll Instagram for 5 minutes before bed. Well, guess what? 2 hours later, I was watching no-bake cookie recipes on an Indian pastry account. No hunger, no logic, no dignity. That's when I realized, I can't open that faucet at night. I don't have an off switch once I've turned it on. What did I do? I left my phone outside the bedroom. End of problem. Not because I hate myself, but because I know how I work. Now imagine you want to do the same. You want to stop using your phone before bed. You know it messes with your sleep, distracts you, steals your rest. You try, you promise yourself tonight's the night, but the moment comes, you unlock it, and boom, you're watching talking dog videos or memes that don't even make you laugh. So what can you do? First, observe yourself. For a week, write down the moments when you lose control, just that. Seeing it written down changes your perception. Then if you notice those little exceptions snowball on you, try controlled abstinence. Cut out one thing that you know pulls you in. Don't answer WhatsApp after a certain hour, even if it's your mom. You'll reply in the morning. And the most important thing, design your environment so you don't have to decide every time. Because let's be honest, willpower isn't infinite. You won't always win the fight against temptation. So, leave your phone in another room and use a traditional alarm clock. That way, you make it easy for yourself. Self-discipline isn't about suffering. It's about knowing yourself. About stopping playing with fire if you know you're going to get burned. About accepting that you're not less for needing clearer rules. On the contrary, you're wiser for knowing what you need to become the best version of yourself. So take a good look at yourself and tell me, have you ever tried following a method that didn't fit you and ended up frustrated? Let me know in the comments. Maybe it wasn't a lack of discipline. Maybe you just needed a different approach. And when you fix the approach, everything starts to work. Because real strength comes from knowing what kind of mind you have and learning to work with it, not against it. 3. Are you the one choosing it? There's a huge difference between saying, I have to do this, and saying, I choose to do this. It might sound like just a simple change of words, but trust me, my friend, it's not. That small shift completely changes your energy, your attitude, and what you're building. Because when you feel like you're choosing, your mind doesn't experience it as a burden. It feels like an act of power. This isn't cheap motivation, it's neuroscience. Researcher Andrew Huberman explains it on his podcast. When we do something from a sense of choice, areas of the brain linked to motivation and reward light up. And you know what that means? That what once felt like a massive struggle now has a different flavor. It's the same effort, but the fuel changes. You do it with more willpower, more focus, and more discipline. Because yes, a disciplined mind isn't just trained with habits. It's hacked through the way you choose to see what you're doing. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic thinkers, said it straight. It's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it. And this is where you can make the difference. Stephanie Joshi, an athlete who's run marathons in conditions you and I can barely imagine, understood this perfectly. I once heard her say, "There are mornings when I don't feel like it at all, but I remind myself that I chose to be this person. I chose to train. No one's forcing me." And when she heads out to run in the dead of winter, she doesn't do it with resignation. She does it with a kind of pride, as if she's proving to herself that she can do what she decided to do. And that's where the magic happens. Discipline stops being an obligation and becomes loyalty to yourself. Philosopher and educator Roxana Krimer explains it beautifully. The language you use creates your identity. It's not the same to say, I force myself to wake up early, as it is to say, I choose to wake up early to gain clarity. The first phrase shrinks you. The second empowers you. The trick isn't to lie to yourself. It's to own your decision with strength. Picture this. You've decided to study, to switch careers, to apply for a scholarship, or simply because you want to grow. But there are days when opening that book feels like climbing a mountain. You're tired. You're unmotivated, Netflix is winking at you. And right there, that's your moment of power. First, change how you talk to yourself. None of that, I have to study. Instead, repeat. I choose to study because I want to open new doors. Say it out loud if you need to. Because you're not following orders. You're answering a promise you made to yourself. Second, whenever you feel your focus slipping or you're about to give up, ask yourself this. Why did I start this? It's not the same to study out of obligation as it is to study because you want more options, because you want to leave a job that drains you, because you want to prove to yourself that you can achieve this. That why will bring your energy back when your strength starts to fade. And third, set up visual reminders in your space. A note on your desk that says, I chose this path. An alarm on your phone with the phrase, study for your future, not out of obligation. Even a photo of the university you dream of or the job you aspire to. All of that helps you stay focused when you need it the most. When you connect with this truth, self-discipline stops feeling like a fight. Suddenly, you're not following orders. You're keeping a promise to yourself. And that promise is worth more than 1,000 excuses. So next time you feel like you have to do something, stop, breathe, and ask yourself if it wasn't actually your choice in the first place. Because when you choose, you're not carrying an obligation, you're holding a decision. And that makes you unstoppable. 4. Your lack of discipline is costing you. Tell me something. How many times have you ended the day completely drained, mentally wiped out, without having done even half of what you set out to do? And still, you feel like you've been running around all day. Sound familiar? No, it's not a coincidence. It's the invisible cost of your lack of discipline, because every time you choose the easy way out, you're paying a price. Not in money, but in something far more valuable: your mental energy, your clarity, your confidence. It's not just about losing time when you procrastinate. You're losing clarity, losing trust in yourself, losing mental energy, even if you don't realize it. The danger is that none of this sets off an alarm. It doesn't burn. It doesn't hurt right away, but it leaves silent scars. A comfortable choice today can turn into frustration tomorrow. And that, my friend, wears you down more than you think. American psychologist Nick Wignall explains it perfectly. Most of the time, we don't make uncomfortable decisions because we're not able to see the real cost of avoiding them. We live convinced that if nothing tragic happens today, there are no consequences. But we miss the most important detail. What you're avoiding today doesn't disappear. It piles up. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said: "Do every act of your life as if it were the last." And he didn't say that to be dramatic. He said it because he knew that letting the important things slide turns us into slaves of regret. And that's a heavy weight to carry. So I want you to do something right now. Grab a pen and paper and make your pain and pleasure list. Don't just think about it in your head. Write it down. Stop for a moment. One column on the left, one on the right. In the pain column, write down what your lack of discipline is costing you. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't make excuses. Are you losing self-esteem because every time you promise yourself something, you break that promise? Write it down. Is your body aching because you've been saying for months that you'll get back to the gym, but you keep making excuses? Put it down. Are you missing out on opportunities because you haven't finished that course, that project, that idea that's been swirling around in your head for months? Write that too. Is your relationship growing cold because you don't keep your word? Not with others, not even with yourself? That all goes there. And if seeing it written down makes you uncomfortable, even better. That discomfort is your first step toward transformation. Now move to the other column, pleasure. Here, write down what you gain if today, not tomorrow, today, you start acting with discipline. Would you wake up feeling more energized and proud? Would you feel more confident looking at yourself in the mirror? Would you sleep peacefully, knowing you gave your best? Would you speak more firmly, without that lump in your throat that comes from knowing you're not following through? All those small, powerful wins go here. And don't stop there. Underneath, in big letters, write this question: if I keep going like this for the next 6 months, what will my life look like? But don't sugarcoat it. Don't write what you wish would happen. Write what you know will happen if nothing changes. Will you still be stuck in the job you hate? Still dragging yourself out of bed in the mornings? Still feeling that emptiness you cover up with shows, social media, or junk food? Write it down, and then write another version of that answer. And if for 6 months I force myself every day to do what I need to do, even when I don't feel like it? Picture that life, that energy, that power. When you're done, don't shove the list in a drawer. That's useless. Keep it visible. Stick it on your mirror. Read it on the days you want to give up. Because that paper isn't just a reminder. It's a mirror. It shows you which direction you're rowing. Discipline isn't about making your life more boring. It's about ending the pain of not knowing why your life feels off. Because when you don't do what you know you should, the discomfort doesn't go away. It just turns into silent anxiety, chronic frustration, guilt disguised as exhaustion. If you've been feeling like something's not right for a while but can't quite put your finger on it, maybe you don't need a complete life overhaul. Maybe you just need to start taking your daily decisions seriously, because what you're putting off today could be exactly what you'll regret not doing tomorrow. Every excuse you make is like a hole at the bottom of a boat. You don't notice it at first, until you start sinking. Are you really going to keep ignoring the leaks? 5. Don't use your achievements as an excuse to slip. Celebrating your wins too early can cost you. Just ask this team. National Tournament Semifinal, 86th minute. They were up 1-0. A stunning free kick goal in the first half had them inches from glory. Just 4 minutes left plus stoppage time. And then, the unthinkable happened. But hold on, let's rewind a bit. That match was the most important in their history. They hadn't made it this far in over a decade. The whole city was glued to their radios. On the bench, the coach glanced up at the sky as if already praying for the final. In the stands, the fans were chanting, "Finalists! Finalists!" before the whistle even blew. One of the defenders, exhausted, asked to be subbed out. "Relax, it's done," his teammate said, giving him a pat on the back. The star striker walked over to the corner flag, wasting time, smiling at the camera like the trophy was already theirs. And then the other team won the ball back. A long pass, a cross into the box, goal, 1-1, 89th minute. Silence. They didn't know how to react. It went to penalties. They missed the first, and then the second. Their dreams slipped through their fingers like sand. Not because they weren't good enough, but because they celebrated too soon. And you know what? A lot of people do the same thing with their lives. One small win, one bit of progress, and they immediately let their guard down. They take a break that ends up lasting weeks. They justify it with, "I deserve this." But let's be honest, that's not rest. That's moral licensing. A self-deception cleverly disguised as a reward. It's when, after doing something good, you feel entitled to do something you know you shouldn't. And that pulls you away from the discipline you're trying to build. Psychologist Nick Wignall puts it clearly. The key isn't what you do well, but what you do after you do well. Picture this. You've had a decent week, worked out 3 times, met your deadlines, even stayed off social media late at night. You feel proud, and that's when your mind throws the trap at you. You've been doing great, you can relax a bit, so you skip your Saturday routine, sleep in, don't work out, order fast food, and tell yourself you'll get back on track tomorrow. But tomorrow comes, and you don't, because you've lost that rhythm, that spark you built up. And on Monday, not only is it harder to start again, but you're frustrated with yourself, because you know you were the one who threw away everything you worked so hard to build. It's like you're building a staircase toward your best self. Every day you show up, you add another step. Monday, 1 step. Tuesday, another. Wednesday, you keep climbing. But Thursday comes and you say, "I'll skip today, I'm doing fine." And not only do you stop adding steps, you pull one out. Friday, same thing, and without even realizing it, you're tearing down your own staircase. You're not just standing still, you're holding yourself back. My friend, I don't blame you, we've all fallen into that trap. But you need to recognize when your mind is selling you a reward that's actually sabotaging you. So here are 3 clear tips to help you avoid falling into that trap again. First, design your rewards wisely. If you want to treat yourself, do it with something that doesn't undo your progress. For example, if you've been consistent with exercise instead of skipping 3 days, treat yourself to a different class, a walk outdoors, or a healthy meal you love. Reward yourself with things that make you feel good, not things that break your momentum. Second, set up a system of daily, mini wins. Instead of waiting until the end of the week to feel like you've earned a break, ask yourself every night, what did I do today that brought me closer to who I want to be? Write it down in a notebook or on your phone. That keeps your focus on moving forward, not on resting before you've earned it. Third, have your recovery routine ready. Because yes, sometimes you will slip. That's okay, but know exactly what your bounce-back plan is. It can be as simple as setting out your healthy breakfast, your workout clothes, and your to-do list the night before. Make getting back on track easy, not a struggle. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And the truth is, you can't be the master of yourself if every step forward becomes an excuse to take 2 steps back. Because in the end, discipline is also about understanding this. You don't win the game in the 86th minute. You win it when you don't stop running until the final whistle blows. And you, How many times have you crashed on the couch before your game was over? 6. So what? Tell me something, my friend. How many times have you been this close to following through on a promise you made to yourself? And right in that moment, your mind whispered, "Better tomorrow." That simple, dangerous little phrase can show up in many forms. Sometimes it sounds like, "I'm just too tired." Other times like, "I deserve this." But there's one version that pops up way more often than you realize. So what? And here's the real problem. We tend to use that phrase to give up, as if one slip-up justifies throwing in the towel, as if one bad day erases an entire week of effort. But what if I told you that you could flip that phrase completely and turn it into your greatest ally? Because yes, "so what" can be an excuse, or a declaration of strength. It all depends on how you use it. Most people use it like this: "I'm tired today. So what? I'll do it tomorrow." But you can flip it and say, "I'm tired today. So what? I'm doing it anyway." See the difference? The situation doesn't change, but your attitude does. And that's where real discipline starts to grow. Marcus Aurelius, who lived through wars, illness, betrayal, and loss, wrote something we should never forget. Falling is in a man's nature, getting back up is his virtue. And he didn't mean it as some pretty slogan. He lived it. Can you imagine Marcus Aurelius saying, "It's raining today, I think I'll skip leading the army"? Or, "I'm not feeling great, so I won't govern today"? No. He got up, got dressed, and did what needed to be done. With discipline, no drama. But of course, in our everyday lives, it's not always so easy. Picture this. You've come home after a long, exhausting day. You've got that online course waiting, the one you bought full of excitement because you wanted to open new doors for yourself. You glance at it from the corner of your eye. You tell yourself, "Not today. Tomorrow, for sure, with more energy. Today I deserve a break." And that's when that little voice creeps in. So what? Just for today. But that today turns into another tomorrow, and another. Until a month later, you can't even remember what you wanted to learn. All that's left is that uncomfortable feeling that you've betrayed yourself. Again. This is exactly where you need to hack your mind. Because yes, you can force yourself to be disciplined even when you don't feel like it. How? From now on, "so what" is going to be your rescue phrase. Every time you feel like it's too hard to do what you set out to do, tell yourself, "So what? I'm tired. So what? I don't feel like it. So what?" You didn't come here to obey fleeting emotions. You came here to build a version of yourself that stands above all that, and create your own mini emergency plan. Something simple. If you feel yourself on the edge of procrastination, move. Put on a song that fires you up. Do a few jumps. Take a deep breath. Then start with just one small action. 5 minutes of that course. Open the book. Set up your workspace, and most of the time, that's all it takes to get going. If you think about it, this simple phrase can be a shield against 1,000 excuses. Because every time you face tiredness, lack of motivation, or the noise in your head, you can answer firmly, "So what? I choose to follow through." And don't forget something important. Discipline isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about not letting a small slip turn into total defeat. It's knowing that you can fall, but you won't disappear. You can trip, but you won't quit. So are you really going to let anything stop you? Or are you going to speak to yourself with more determination the next time your mind tries to sabotage you? Tell us in the comments, in what situation do you need to say, loud and clear, "So what? I'm doing it anyway"? We want to hear from you. Because you're not alone in this. We're all training our discipline, one decision at a time, day after day. And maybe your example is exactly what someone else needs to keep going today. 7. Your real discipline shows when no one is watching. Look around. I'm sure you know someone who only works hard when their boss is nearby, or someone who studies just to look focused, but the moment no one's watching, their phone wins. There are even people who behave just for their partner, their parents, or their followers, like they're living in front of a camera. But tell me, my friend, What's the point of that kind of strength that only works under the spotlight? Acting right only when there are witnesses is like sweeping dirt under the rug before guests arrive. On the surface, it looks like everything's fine. But you know that mess is still there, piling up. That's false discipline, the one that only shows up when eyes are on you. Discipline isn't getting up when everyone's watching. It's not hitting the snooze button when no one will ever know. It's in those moments, when everything is quiet and you could lie to yourself without anyone noticing, that you really show what you're made of. Because anyone can stay accountable when there's a witness. The hard part, the part that truly shapes you, is sticking to your habits when no one expects anything from you. When you are your only judge. Want to see people who have this down to a science? For that, we'd have to travel to Japan. Over there, discipline doesn't depend on whether someone is watching. The Japanese don't cross the street on a red light, even if there isn't a single car in sight. They don't make noise on public transport, even if the train is empty. They don't leave their trays dirty in self-service restaurants, even if there's no one around to judge them. Why? Because they don't act out of fear of being judged. They act out of respect for themselves. Because they've trained a mindset where living by their values weighs more than any outside reward. Seneca reminds us of the same thing with one of his most powerful quotes: "Virtue strengthens itself in solitude." And he lived that way. He wasn't waiting for applause. While others were corrupted by power and appearances, he trained himself every day to live with integrity, even when no one demanded it. In his home, in his letters, in his thoughts, everything pointed toward that same coherence. And right now, someone comes to mind who embodies this perfectly: Valentine de Lattre. You might not know her, but she's a French creator who made a bold decision to quit alcohol. But she didn't make a big announcement. No fireworks, no social media posts, no viral challenges. She did it quietly, without telling anyone. Months of staying true to her commitment just for herself. And when she finally shared her story, she said something that stuck with me. "I didn't need anyone to applaud me. I needed to respect myself." And that's real discipline, the kind that's born from self-respect, not from applause. Now, my friend, listen up. If you want to hack your mind and build more discipline, you need to try these tips. First, apply this idea from writer Cal Newport: intellectual integrity in the age of distraction. Do you know what that means? It's about sticking to what you promised yourself, even when no one is watching. You're in the middle of a task, and you feel the urge to leave it half done. Right there, stop and ask yourself, am I being faithful to what I committed to? Don't announce it. Don't seek validation. Do it silently. Second, try the imaginary observer trick. Picture someone you admire watching you at the exact moment you're about to make a decision. Would that change what you're about to do? If the answer is yes, then deep down, you already knew what was right. Third, set yourself a 30-day challenge. But don't tell anyone. Do it just for you. No likes, no compliments, no rewards, just silent commitment. And at the end of the month, the real transformation won't be in what you achieved. It will be in who you became on the inside. What you do in the dark builds the light others will eventually see. But first, you have to shine when no one's clapping for you. Because right there, in that solitude where it's just you, that's where your real strength is born. 8. Your dopamine is running your life. My friend, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but your brain has a problem. And no, it's not a lack of intelligence or talent or even motivation. It's that your brain has been hacked. Literally. It's been trained to love instant pleasure and hate anything that requires effort. Think about it. You used to enjoy reading or getting lost in something for hours. Now, you can barely focus for more than 5 minutes unless there are flashing lights, sounds, or quick rewards. And you know why? Because your brain has gotten hooked on mental sugar. Not the kind you eat, the kind that's even more addictive. The 10-second videos, the shiny notifications, the memes that don't give you anything but keep your finger scrolling without thinking. No, you're not broken, but you are used to getting cheap dopamine hits every few minutes. And even though that seems harmless, It's rewiring your brain. That's why it's hard for you to finish tasks. That's why you keep putting off what's important, because your reward system no longer values what doesn't give you an immediate hit. As Andrew Huberman says, if you don't control your constant exposure to easy rewards, your brain stops getting motivated by what actually matters. And this isn't some new theory. Back in the 1960s, a group of scientists at Stanford proved it with a simple test. They sat a bunch of kids in front of a marshmallow. They told them if they could wait 15 minutes without eating it, they'd get a second one. And what happened? Most of them ate it. But the ones who waited, years later, they showed better academic performance, fewer health problems, and more emotional stability. Why? Because they'd trained the most valuable thing, their ability to resist instant gratification. See what I mean? This isn't just about willpower. It's about training the muscle that says, not now, so you can say yes to something much better later. Picture this. You've got a report due on Friday. It's not urgent. No one's chasing you for it. But if you don't get it done today, tomorrow you'll be stressed out. You sit down, open your laptop, and here comes the temptation. A video, a notification, a message. Your body craves that easy dopamine hit. But your mind knows the promise you made to yourself. This is the moment where you either hack your brain or stay its victim. Now ask yourself, what would a Stoic do today? Probably use a Nokia from 2005, read by candlelight, and take walks without music. Because they knew that freedom starts with self-control, not with constant entertainment. That's why Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And today, being the master of yourself starts by breaking free from these constant stimuli. So, do you want to take back control of your brain and be free? It all starts with forcing yourself to be more disciplined. Here's a challenge for you. For 1 week, don't touch your phone until you've finished a task. Don't take it lightly. This is a sacred rule. No social media, no videos, no digital snacking. It's not forbidden forever. You just don't earn it until you've done your work. Think of it as your reward, not your breakfast. Second, every time you feel the urge to distract yourself, do something physical. Stand up, drink water, jump 3 times, walk around the house, clap your hands, whatever works. Shifting your body breaks the automatic loop of the stimulus. At first, it might feel silly, but it works. You're training your brain not to react like a robot. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul is strengthened when the body resists." And he was right. But today, resisting doesn't mean fighting beasts. Your soul strengthens when you decide to hack your mind and stop being its slave. When instead of going for what's easy, you force yourself to build what you promised yourself. Because in the end, it's not about having more motivation. It's about having control. And real control starts when you choose silence over noise. 9. Act like the person you want to become. Picture this. You wake up early, but without an alarm. Not because you have some urgent obligation, but because you have a clear sense of purpose. You prepare a breakfast that fuels your body, get dressed feeling energized, review your agenda, and there's no rush, no chaos. You go straight to what matters, and when that critical hour comes, the one where you usually procrastinate, you just do the thing. No drama, no inner debate. You finish what you set out to do, close your laptop, take a cold shower, and head out for a walk listening to an audiobook. And you don't do it out of blind discipline. You do it because you are that person now. The person who takes action. The person who takes care of themselves. The person who respects themselves. Relax. It's not that you have to be that ideal version of yourself right away. You just need to start acting like you already are. Because, my friend, identity doesn't wait for you. You build it. How? With action. And you know why? Because your brain doesn't really distinguish between real and imagined when you act in alignment. If you start behaving like someone disciplined, someone with willpower, someone with goals, your mind doesn't sit back saying, "But that's not who you are." No, your mind starts adapting, starts believing it, starts integrating it. Marcus Aurelius knew that what the mind repeats, the soul eventually believes. Every day he reminded himself of who he wanted to be, how he needed to act, and why that was the right thing to do. That's how it works. Repeat a pattern with intention, and that pattern transforms you. Do you know the biggest mistake people make when they want to change? They wait until they feel ready to behave like someone new. But here's the truth no one tells you. You're never going to feel ready. You have to start as if you're already there. Because if you wait to feel like it, you're going to keep being the same person. So, do this exercise right now. Think about what you want to achieve. That version of yourself you imagine when you think, I wish I were like that. Got it? Good. How does that person walk? How do they talk? What do they do with their time? What do they decide when no one's watching? Now write it down, seriously, on paper. My disciplined self does this, this, and this. Don't keep it in your head, write it down. Read it every morning like it's a script. Because yes, it is a script. The script for your transformation. And when that critical moment comes, the one where you usually give in, ask yourself, what would that version of me do right now? And just do it for 2 minutes. If it's studying, study for 2 minutes. If it's working out, move for 2 minutes. Just that. Because simply starting shifts the direction of your day. And do one thing, just one, every day that your disciplined self would do. It doesn't have to be huge. It can be making your bed, planning your week, or not checking your phone first thing in the morning. One action. But keep it going. Because if you repeat it, you believe it. And if you believe it, you become it. I know this sounds simple, but I won't lie to you. It won't be easy. Because your mind will scream at you to stay the same, to stick with what it knows. But this is where you have to hack it. Force it to take those small steps. So tell me, what's the first thing you're going to do today as your best self? Share it in the comments. And remember this forever, you don't have to wait to become someone new. You just have to dare to act like you already are. Because if you repeat it, you create it. And if you create it, you transform. And discipline is the foundation of that transformation. 10. Don't overthink it, just do it. Sometimes the more you think about it, the less you actually do. And yeah, this might sound like one of those cheesy jokes your uncle tells at Christmas dinner. But do you know what the most overrated skill in the world is? Overthinking everything 1,000 times before taking action. And the most underrated, doing it, even when you have no clue what you're doing. And I'm not telling you this from some pedestal, trust me. We've all been there, waiting for the right moment, the perfect method, the best tutorial. Like once we have the perfect plan, then we'll finally make our move. Spoiler, no you won't. Most likely after all that planning, you'll get hungry, put on a show, and leave it for tomorrow. Overthinking isn't a sign of wisdom. Most of the time, it's just fear disguised as logic. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, that mental block you feel, it's not a signal to stop, it's an invitation to move. The more you hesitate, the harder it gets. The longer you wait, the bigger the mountain grows, until eventually you do nothing at all. Picture this. You're at home. You've been wanting to fix a small crack in the wall, hang that picture that's been leaning against the floor for months. You know where the screws are, you know you have the drill, but there it sits, waiting. Why? Because you think, what if I hang it wrong? What if it falls? What if I don't like how it looks? And between one what if and another week slips by. The wall stays the same, and so do you. But do you know what the key is? Hacking that mind of yours that keeps chasing perfection before making a move. And you might be thinking, how am I supposed to trick myself? Well, let me explain. First, always have a trigger phrase visible. Stick it on your desk, your bathroom mirror, your phone screen. Something like, think later, do now. It sounds basic, but the problem isn't that you don't know what to do. The problem is, you're not pushing yourself to do it. And sometimes, that little phrase is all you need to fire the starting gun. And here's the most important thing: use the 2-minute rule. If you can take the first step in less than 2 minutes, do it now. Just that. Open the document, set the timer, write one line, pull the clothes out of the closet, make the call. You don't need to finish it. Just start. Because once you start, your mind shifts into action mode. And that's what we're after, breaking the inertia. It's not about doing it perfectly, it's about not staying frozen. Hacking your mind means this too: not letting it trap you in brilliant arguments that all have one mission: keeping you comfortable. But my friend, no one builds an epic life from the comfort zone. So here's a challenge for you. Today, do something you've been overthinking for way too long. Don't plan it. Don't give it another spin. Just do it. Afterwards, if you want, we can talk about whether it was the perfect moment, but do it. Because in the end, the only way to become disciplined is to stop waiting. 11. If you don't have a schedule, you're improvising your life. My friend, this might sound a bit dramatic, but I want you to really ask yourself, did you live your day to day, or did you just survive it? I bet this sounds familiar. You open your eyes, and your day gets decided by everyone else. Your boss hits you with an urgent message. Your mom calls out of the blue. Your partner throws in a, "Can you do me a quick favor?" That ends up eating half your morning. And you hadn't even decided yet what your most important thing for the day was. Later, you head out for groceries, bump into someone you know, stop to chat longer than you should, and suddenly the clock's breathing down your neck. You get back home, rush through lunch, think about tackling that important task. But just then, someone else asks for help. And of course, since you don't have a schedule for yourself, you say yes. I get it. Schedule sounds like some punishment from school. But let me tell you something. Having a schedule isn't slavery. It's self-leadership. It's how you tell yourself, I decide where my energy goes. Think about it. Can you imagine Messi waking up without knowing what time he has to train, or whether the game starts at 9 or 10, but no one told him? Ridiculous, right? But that's exactly what you do when you don't set your own schedule. You're on the field, sure, but you don't know which side you're playing for or which goal you're supposed to shoot at. You're just running around, no strategy, no direction. And that, my friend, is what we call wasting your energy. Seneca said it best. It's not that we have little time, but that we waste a lot of it. And you know how it gets wasted? In small decisions you never make, in days that slip away without leaving any mark. One of the most interesting voices on this topic is Justin Welsh. He was a corporate executive who burned out, and now he runs his own business with ultra-structured time blocks designed to protect his mind. And no, he doesn't do it because he likes being rigid. He does it because he knows that without structure, the noise of the world wins. Because his energy isn't infinite, and every interruption, every bit of improvisation comes at a cost. And I know, you're not Justin Welsh, but you don't have to be. You don't need to turn into a robot or cram your schedule with back-to-back meetings every day. But you can have a schedule that forces you to be more disciplined. So here's what you do. Every night before bed, write down just 3 key blocks for the next day. 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 1 in the evening. That's it. This cuts down on the anxiety of having 1,000 tasks and helps you focus on what really matters. Then, between each block, leave 5 minutes of space. Not for losing yourself on your phone, but to reset. Breathe, stand up, stretch. This is called the interrupted block technique, and it helps prevent burnout. Because it's not about being busy all day, it's about being present when it counts. And finally, this one's the most powerful. Leave intentional gaps in your schedule. Yes, time with nothing planned, for rest, for thinking, for recalibrating. Don't cram every minute, because a good schedule doesn't just focus you, it also frees you. It gives you the freedom to be where you want to be, without feeling dragged around by the current. In the end, it comes down to this. Are you going to keep drifting through your days like a boat without a compass, just hoping something happens? Or are you going to grab the wheel and decide where this ship is headed? Because yes, my friend, forcing yourself to follow a schedule is one of the most powerful ways to hack your mind and build discipline. It makes it clear who's in charge. Next time you think, I don't need a schedule, remember this image. A plane without a flight path can fly for hours, but it never lands where it wanted to. And you're not here to just circle around, you're here to arrive. 12. Every day you have 1,440 chances. 1,440 minutes. That's what you get each day. No more, no less. 1,440 opportunities to move forward, to improve, to decide, to act. But the real question is, are you actually using any of them? Or are you just letting them slip by like you're immortal? Imagine this. Every morning you wake up and find 1,440 euros in your bank account. But there's one rule. Whatever you don't spend today disappears. Now tell me, hand on heart, would you spend 200 euros on a rock labeled motivation just because it's trending? Would you blow 150 on a lamp shaped like an avocado that you're never going to turn on? Would you drop 100 on a phone case with bunny ears just because it made you laugh? Of course not. That would be insane. But that's exactly what you do with your time when you give it away to things that don't build you, that don't move you closer to anything. Only here, you're not losing money. You're losing life. The Stoics knew this long before clocks even existed. In his essay on the shortness of life, Seneca wrote, "We act as if we are immortal, except in how we spend our time." And he was right. We worry about saving money, protecting our health, guarding our possessions, but we throw away our time like it's worthless. And you know what happens when you repeat that day after day? Life slips away. And the worst part, you don't even notice. Ali Rida, an expert in micro-productivity, explains this perfectly. He doesn't plan his day in hour-long blocks. He plans it in minutes. He says every minute is a hidden gold mine. Do you know why? Because you don't need an hour to be disciplined. You just need to decide what to do with the next minute. Let me tell you something. One day I decided to time how much of my day I wasted on small things, not on social media, not on video games, just on everyday nonsense. 20 minutes choosing what show to watch, 17 scrolling through food delivery options, 12 deciding what to wear. Almost an hour of my day completely gone. Sound familiar? I bet it does. And I don't blame you. The problem isn't that we don't have time. It's that we don't notice how we let it slip away. So let's do something different. Let's take back those lost minutes, but this time with intention. First, you're going to time yourself. But don't use your phone. Use an old-school kitchen timer, one of those that ticks, and set 20-minute ultra-focus challenges. Pick one task, just one. Set the timer and do it without distractions until it rings. It sounds silly, but it's magic. Second, make a list of your dead minutes. Those moments where you're not doing anything useful, but you're not really resting either. Those gaps where your brain is paused, but your energy is still draining. Got them? Good. Now, transform at least one of them. Instead of mindlessly scrolling your phone, go for a walk. Instead of opening Instagram on autopilot, open your ideas notebook. You don't need a full overhaul, just redirect a few minutes. Remember, discipline doesn't always mean some huge sacrifice. That's why every minute counts. It's about not giving away your time like it's infinite. The clock won't stop, but you can stop for a moment and decide what to do with every minute you've got left today. Because if you learn to respect your time, you'll start to truly respect yourself. My friend, if you've made it this far, there's no going back. Something inside you already knows that you need to change, that you can't keep acting like you're eternal, like your discipline doesn't matter. Because it does. A lot. But there's still one last thing, the hardest thing, the most transformative thing, the one that'll make the difference between staying the same or finally becoming that version of yourself that doesn't stop. 13. Without tracking, there is no improvement. Imagine you're climbing a mountain, blindfolded. You're walking, putting in the effort, getting tired. But since you can't see anything, you have no idea if you're getting closer to the top or if you're just walking in circles. That's exactly what life feels like when you don't track your progress. You might be doing a lot, but if you're not keeping track, you'll never know if you're actually moving forward or just keeping yourself busy with the illusion of progress. My friend, there's something you need to understand right now. Being disciplined isn't just about waking up early or crossing tasks off a list. It's about having the courage to evaluate whether all that effort is actually getting you somewhere. Because if you're not measuring your progress, you're not building, you're improvising. And even though this might sound obvious, most people completely ignore it. They say they're changing their life, they're being consistent, they're in the process. But when you ask them what specific results they've achieved this month, they don't know what to say. Not because there's no progress, but because they haven't tracked it. And that means they can't replicate it, can't improve it. Like Epictetus said, don't just say you're a philosopher, live like one. And we could say the same about discipline. Don't just say you're disciplined, prove it. With data, with evidence, with facts. As Japanese educator Marie Poulain puts it, what doesn't get tracked fades away. She doesn't just track her physical habits or work tasks. She also keeps tabs on her energy, her rest, her focus. Not to obsess, but to adjust before things spiral out of control. Her method is based on knowing herself, with clarity. And guess what? That's also discipline. Now pay attention. Imagine you decide that this month you're going to save €100. You commit to it, motivated, maybe even jot it down in a note on your phone. But the week goes by and you grab that fancy coffee 3 times, then a couple of dinners out, a t-shirt you didn't really need, and by the end of the month you tell yourself, well, I didn't do too bad. But do you really know how much you spent? Do you know if you saved anything? Or were you just surviving with the feeling that you tried? Because if you didn't track anything, chances are your savings stayed just that, a good intention. See what I mean? Without tracking, there's no real progress, just guesses, and guesses won't take you anywhere. So here are 3 practical ideas to help you take real control without overcomplicating your life. First, create what I call a weekly thermometer. At the end of each week, rate yourself from 1 to 5 in 3 areas: your discipline and health, your focus, and your rest. That way, simply and clearly, you'll see if you're improving or not. Second, use a simple visual chart with colors. Green means you did it. Yellow means you did it halfway. Red means you didn't do it. By the end of the month, you'll have a visual pattern that won't lie to you. And third, don't beat yourself up if there's more red than green. Be like a good coach. Analyze, adjust, and keep going. Because this isn't about being perfect. It's about staying in motion but with direction. My friend, this isn't just some productivity hack. This is a way to hack your mind so you become the kind of person who doesn't just make promises, but reviews them and keeps them. Someone who doesn't just start, but holds themselves accountable to finish. Someone who doesn't get carried away by fleeting motivation, but forces themselves to stay steady with facts, with truth. You don't need more motivation. You need to keep making uncomfortable decisions until they start to feel natural. That is real discipline. Doing what you said you'd do, even when no one's watching, even when you're tired, even when you've got the perfect excuses right there in front of you. Because every time you force yourself to act, you're reprogramming your mind. You're tearing down that weak version of yourself that holds you back and building someone unstoppable. Someone who doesn't wait to feel ready, someone who gets up and does it. If you've made it this far, drop this in the comments. I get up even when I don't feel like it. That way, I'll know who the true Stoic warriors are who made it to the end. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a like so you don't miss out on what's coming next. I also invite you to check out our playlist, which you'll see on the screen. It's packed with ideas, stories, and advice to help you navigate life with more wisdom and confidence. Click it, and let's keep moving forward together. Until next time, take care and keep embracing your inner Stoic.